Solas Nua and our film festival. And wow, I told people, I don't know if you were in here to, fasten the seatbelts and dance in the aisles, because this was a rocker of all ways. And I got to see it earlier, on about a 50-inch screen TV. But this is another world. Yeah, this
I haven't
is
seen
just
it in a few months, and it was really fun, I have to say. It's like, oh, I did that. How did I do that?
So you have a very compelling story on your website about how did this happen. Can we get like a short version of that so we can ask a few other questions as well?
Okay, I don't know if I can do a short version, but I was on Facebook because I am a over 50-year-old female with a cat. That's where we live. And I saw Arlo Guthrie, and he was going to be in concert in Ireland. I'm like, this is great. It saves me a trip across the pond, because I live in France, so it's only a 2-hour flight to go to Ireland. And next time I saw Arlo Guthrie, he was in Sligo, and it was snowing, and I thought, oh no, I forgot about getting tickets for this. So I hopped online, and it was the last concert, and it was the following night. So I was like, I have to go. I got a ticket. I got on the train. I went out to Sligo. No, I rented a car. It doesn't matter. See, I knew I wouldn't be able to do it fast.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the concert hall, and I was talking to the lady next to me. Well, they can't let you sit by yourself, as you know. They just can't let a person sit all by themselves and not talk to them. So we started chatting, and then the lady in front of us started chatting with us, and it turns out she was a neighbor of Arlo Guthrie's, and she set the concert. So after the concert, I said to Michelle, what are you doing? Are you going to the pub? And she said something like, shoot crows or something, and then she rushed off. So I thought, that can't be right. Anyway, the next day I was driving down Harmony Hill, which is the first album, the name of the Dervish's first album, so I was absolutely enchanted with that. I get to the bottom of our Harmony Hill, and I see, shoot the crows. And I screamed a little bit and cried and laughed all at the same time, and I knew where I was going to go that night, and so I did, and I walked in the door, and the place was packed, and the music was heaving, and everything was going, the pints were flying, and there was a little stool there, so I asked the guy, could I sit down, and he said, oh yeah, work away, and I didn't know what that meant, but I figured if his wife was coming back, she'd boot me out, so I sat there, and the music was just enchanting. It was the No Crows that were playing that night, and as you heard, there's a Mallorcan guitar player, and a Swiss mandolin cello player, and the Russian fiddle player is Oleg, and he's one of the gentlest, sweetest, funniest people you'll ever meet. And I think even Steve Wickham was there, and Steve Wickham plays with the Waterboys. He just retired from the Waterboys, by the way, about a month ago. But the place was amazing, and I stood up afterwards, was chatting with the guys, and I said, somebody has to make a documentary. The place is amazing. And they said, yeah, that's right. Somebody should. And that night I couldn't sleep, and I knew that it had to be me, because nobody else was going to be doing something like that.
Well, that's what's so interesting when I was reading your bio. It's this wonderful serendipity story. Then you couldn't sleep that night, and like, I just really need to do it. And then the film, there it is. But of course, the big question is, how did you get from a sleepless night to making this spectacular film?
Oh, thank you. I say it's kind of like somebody gave me a bunch of Play-Doh, and I just started making balls and things and chains, and I don't know how I made it, actually, is the answer. I didn't do film school. I didn't know anything about film structure, except there had to be a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Okay.
And then I was like a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter. I just gathered up everything that I could. And I was really struggling with it, actually. Sandy Kelly said she didn't have any photos or anything for me. So I Googled her, and then I found the Johnny Cash footage. I'm like, what? Yeah. And she's like, where did you get that? I haven't seen it in 40 years. So she was thrilled with it, actually. And she had commissioned that piece to be done, but she'd lost it along the way.
Yeah, where did you find the Sandy Kelly piece? I was thinking about that kind of archival research. as a
It was on
documentary?
YouTube. Somebody loaded
Really?
up to YouTube
Really?
illegally,
That's-
so Sandy got her footage back. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it was funny. And that picture of Willie Nelson I just found on Google search.
Okay, because we've been having these conversations for 16 years now with documentarians, and one of the big issues that's come up has been, of
B-roll.
course, rights and cost, but also just the ability to even find it. And this is the first time I've had a chance to hear someone say,
You
like,
don't want to hear what I have to say.
but you went and found
Everything
it on Google and YouTube,
for
and
free.
it's
All
open
of
to,
my footage,
yeah.
except the Pumpkinhead footage. I had to pay RT for that because they
Wow.
owned
Wow,
that.
that's
yeah.
quite a development then.
It was astonishing. I was like, I'm an indie filmmaker, have pity on me. And I didn't get any funding off of anybody because I'm not Irish. So I couldn't get it either. And in America, you don't get anything from anybody. You have to find your own financing. In Ireland and Europe, you can get financing from the government, from the arts councils. So
Yes. Yeah, we were discussing that, and of course
it's a huge deal.
Yeah, the reason we've been able to have a lot of Irish artists come over to this festival and other at Solas Nua is because of the support of the Irish government. Well, we do get some, so you all know, we do get some good support from the District of Columbia Arts Commission for our general programming. But anyway, just a little plug for a couple of our sponsors there. Yeah. There's just to follow that a little bit more, of course there are, no kidding, everyone just watched it, but a lot of interviews and concert sessions in the film. Did some of the pieces appear, did you shoot some of the pieces, the interviews, or were those found as well?
I shot all of the interviews. There were little bits and pieces in Hargading's pub where Kathy was talking with Kevin Burke, the fiddle player from Portland, Oregon, actually. I mean, from Sligo, but he lives in Portland, Oregon now. And it was the guys that run the Sligo live program that gave me that footage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you had to sort of you stitched it all together. Is that right? Wait, my non-professional way of
I hired
asking.
4 editors, let's just say. One was in Paris. He was a Brazilian man from Paris, so I thought, Brazilian, they like music, this will be great. And he was a professional editor. He'd done things for the French TV channels. So he was very, very highly qualified, but he didn't know how to do the film. He didn't know the story of the film, but he was sure that he did. So I had to take that off of him. And then I went to Sligo, and I was working with this local guy who's Polish, and he'd worked for Polish TV before he moved to Sligo with his kids and everything. And he and I put the first rough draft together ourselves. Like, I wrote it all out, how I thought it should go, and then he said he had some ideas, and after he saw my ideas, he said, no, we're going with yours. So I'm like, I guess mine was a better structure. So that's how I did it. I just made it up as I went. And then after you get the rough draft, you have to start cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. And they call it killing your darlings, because you take all of those wonderful little things that you have to have in the film, but they don't fit, and so you have to take them out, and they end up on the cutting room floor, as they say.
Did you work with any other, you mentioned the Polish fellow in Ireland, were there other, we've been reading a lot and hearing a little bit here about the kind of growth of the Irish film industry, the infrastructure there. Did you take advantage, was that available to you, or did you use it? I was just kind of curious.
I wish.
Yeah, okay, next time for your next piece.
There were some local guys that were really, there's one guy, a local cameraman, Peter Martin, he's a magician. He really can just go into a room and make people do things that they, he's brilliant. The other guys were good. One of the guys that shot a lot of the pub stuff is a local cameraman. He did some of my sound and lighting, which he's not a lighting person, it turns out. You saw the yellow people, that was some of the bad lighting, but we just took it. And Shamey came up with a brand new hairdo with all the curly things behind him. He forgot about the interview that morning, and he was supposed to meet us downtown, and then we finally just called somebody and said, could we go to Dolly's cottage? This is like the old stone cottage where we filmed it. We only had one light for the 3 of them, so we had to make do. And Shamey came in, I think he'd just woken up. We'd woken him up around 1 o'clock in the morning, in the afternoon, and so that's why his hair looks like that. But they're all just great, aren't they? I mean, it's just amazing interviews. Deirdre, Fikra is turning 3. Now I should ask him, now Fikra, are you going to be a musician or not? You know, I'm 3 years old. Like, well, I guess I have to be. It's amazing to me.
They are really articulate too. It put me to shame. I'm watching this. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And then
even when they were going
that.
slow.
Did you have? Was it difficult to draw it out, or were they natural talkers?
They're just talkers. They're just talkers. Willie had done a lot of interviews, and Sandy, of course, was the most polished of all. Half of that story isn't actually true. But she just laughs. That's her way of telling the story. But she did sing at Johnny Cash's funeral. That was the last time she sang for him. And that always, it usually gets a tear from me. I'm blown away by all of them. And I loved the way, Willie was just teasing about hiding in the back of his grandfather's pickup and then popping up when he got to the venue and saying, "I'm here." And then the guy, his grandfather would go off and chat up the ladies, and he'd have to finish the session for him. That's how he learned how to play the drums. That's why he's a drummer today, because his granddad taught him. They're just. I fell into a honeypot, is what happened. And because Sligo is not as well known, like Cork and Galway and Dublin get all the money, the funding, and the attention. And Sligo is kind of like the fifth child, doesn't get as much attention. And I saw that, and I just went, somebody's got to do something here. This is incredible. And the reason I put all the musicians, all the names at the end, those are all the people that play in the pubs around Sligo. Yeah. It's down to 20,000 people, and you've got like 500 really good musicians. I started filming in 2015 because then that was the annual Flock Hill was in Sligo in 2014 and 2015. I missed 2014, so I started the next year, and I filmed most of it that year, and then it took me about another year to do the interviews to fill in that. So it was all done a long time ago, and just stuck it away. And then I have to thank COVID in its own bizarre way, because I finished the edit during COVID. I was in lockdown. I had nothing else to do. I'm like, right, okay, I have this project. I'll pull it out of the drawer. And I'd been struggling with it for a long time. The problem was killing the darlings. It was like chopping it back to where it needed to be. I wanted to make it longer, not shorter. So that's what happened. So it didn't impact me at all, or the bands. But the bands are going back now. I can say that Dervish, I can plug Dervish and say they're in Northampton, Massachusetts tonight playing. Moxie are in Dubai playing the World's Expo. The No Crows are dying to get out, and they've got some things lined up, but it's been a bit slow. Sligo's official I don't know what it's called, motto or something. It's called the Gateway City, which is horrible. And I'm begging them to change it to the live music capital of Ireland, but they think that's a bit cheeky. Actually, Sligo is in the Republic of Ireland. It's very close to the border, though. But Michael Coleman, I didn't get the full story in this film, unfortunately. I couldn't get the guy to tell the whole story fully after we had already filmed him. Going back and matching his audio with the original audio was impossible. But Michael Coleman was the fifth son of his family, so there was no hope of him staying on the farm in Gurchin. So he went over to England with a brother that had already moved away, the fourth brother probably, and they together saved up some money and they made it to New York City. They hopped on a ship. Michael Coleman was so famous on the vaudeville circuit that Decca Records, who was just forming, begged him in fact, because he hated recording, begged him to record as many songs as they could possibly get him to record. And so he did 130 songs into one of those big funnels that you have to stand at a certain angle and play into, which is extremely hard for a fiddle player because you can't stand still and play music. Maybe a flute player could do it, but not a fiddle player. And Michael Coleman did a tap dance and whistled a tune while he was playing. That's how he became so famous. So he was all over, going all over the East Coast, playing and singing and tapping. And because he was recorded, all of those songs came back to Ireland. And you probably know yourself that trad music kind of died out in the 40s, 50s, 60s. It was actually it was actually banned in Sligo anyway, in the towns. It was banned in the 60s. You weren't allowed to play trad. It became very political for reasons passing understanding. But now it's cool and everybody wants to play trad, so it's come back again, and they're digging out these old songs. Like I was in a pub one night in Connolly's pub, the oldest pub in Sligo, and somebody said, this song is about 300 years old, and he started playing, and I just started weeping. So I'm not answering your question. I'm deflecting. But I don't think there really is an influence north to south. I think it's more Sligo influenced the fiddle playing style of the whole island because of Michael Coleman, because of Decca Records, because of the vaudeville circuit. That's what I've come to know. It's interesting. I happened to meet Tim Cain in Geneva. He was in Geneva, was at a dinner with somebody that I know, and he was telling me about the Danville Festival and how great it is and how great the music is in Virginia. Which I'm from the West Coast. I don't know anything. There we go. Yeah, applaud. I don't know anything about the East Coast and what's going on here, except maybe Tanglewood, some big name like that, Woodstock. But just to bring a little bit of history into it, when people came over on the boats in the 1800s, they came with whatever skills they had. A lot of them worked in the coal mines, especially in Sligo. There's a huge coal mine in Sligo, the Regan of Mine, and they've shut it down now, thank God. But, and old Hannah's song called Irish Boys is about Irish boys push the steel, while all of those around them, cried yippee-ki-yay while coming down the mountain. So here were these Irish guys that were steel workers, and they worked in the fields. I mean, they dug bog and they did things like that. They were farmers. So they did kind of whatever they knew to do, and if they didn't have a particular skill, they sent them out to build our railroads, along with the Chinese and whoever else they could grab, because everything was being built in America at that time. So again, I'm not really answering your question, but I just find that fascinating. And so a lot of those guys that did come over were coal miners, and a lot of the refugees that ended up in America came from Sligo because it's a really deep estuary, it's a really deep port, and it's one of the biggest ports, shipping areas of Sligo, of Ireland. Yes, I think they are going to come back this year. That's what I'm seeing. The ones in France, anyway, are all going to go live this year.
Well, I think our time has ended, but yes, but I want to point out, I think you did such a credit to your musicians on your solicitation card for this show. There are some in the table in the lobby, because you want to turn it over, because she has listed the bands and their websites. Also, we remind you to go to her website, which has hot links to the bands and other things that are going on, and some other pictures. It's really terrific. So I want you to take it, because our whole goal here, we share a joint goal, which is promote contemporary Irish art.
The great art program here.
Yes.